Good morning, everybody. It's Darren Benton with Performance Motorcoaches. We're here with Josh and Brett in the shop. I want to do something a little bit different than we've done in the past and talk about basically what we do to some of these units and what we do different than I think than most other dealers, and more or less what you should expect whenever you're spending this much money on a coach. So we're going to break Josh in. He's never been on film with us at all. He's a little nervous. So kind of the pecking order here is they want me to stay away. I come in and then I give them direction and then they want me to go away. And then Josh is kind of the go-to when people come to pick up their coaches. And then this guy, Josh puts everything together. So it's a great dynamic. We're all super picky about things. We all hold, customer responsibility at the highest level. They do a phenomenal job. It's really been impressive to watch these guys work with customers that are spending this much money and having very equal respect. That's the most unique part with these guys is the customers respect them. There's a lot of information that goes down to these coaches in a day or two when they pick up. So we'll just kind of jump into what we do, some of the inspection process that maybe some other dealers are doing, but probably not. And part of some of the reason why I think people should buy a coach from Performance Motorcoaches versus the next guy down the road. So kind of first things first, we make sure, let's go around, Josh. Okay. We make sure headlight alignment. I can tell you that I picked up numerous coaches, one headlight's up, one headlight's down. There is a slight adjustment in the headlight itself. So go ahead and kick them on real quick.
Gotcha.
We got our air here, so make sure we adjust the tire pressure appropriately. Make sure all the time. You see here, we're a little down.
Oh, sorry.
A little low on our passenger side.
But want those headlights to be perfectly straight.
You open the hood.
So is that a T?
Was it right? Yeah, T25 right from underneath.
Little plug.
Pop a little
It does
plug
take a little
out.
bit of a longer T25, a little stubby, won't reach it. But if you have a longer T25, it's really easy.
So I think you tighten it and they go up and loosen they go down.
Yeah.
It's just small things that if you're picky, once you see it, you pretty much cannot not see it anymore. Obviously the tire pressure. So every coach we get from Renegade, I think they check the tire pressure first thing in the morning. So they put 130 psi, the coldest temperature possible, and then of course the tires heat up. When they heat up, they're like basketballs. They ride incredibly rough. So kind of depending upon the temperature outside, we make sure that we're adjusted. We generally don't weigh every coach. We actually set these tires a little bit higher than perhaps what Michelin specs them, but they ride considerably better. To me, it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. So kind of come down. This is where Josh, the more he learns, the dumber I feel.
Yeah.
So
I know enough to be dangerous. Josh knows enough to fix it. But it is a lot. Josh, tell us what you're doing there.
So first off, I just go in. The first step is just getting the servo connected to Wi-Fi. And once I have my servo connected, then I can connect it through VRM into the laptop. And then once I go in there, you're able to just get all the systems and update everything. So that's my first step, is updating my inverters, my solar controller, and then the servo and the MK3, which is your screen inside. So it all gets updated from, the beginning. And then I go in and log into the inverters and actually download the program in there and double check that all the parameters are correct. We've ran into one before where it was switching as a group, and then you couldn't plug it into a 15 amp breaker. I mean, a 15 amp plug at your house, to charge. So figured that out, and now that's another step that I take now to make sure that's not on there.
To me, there's a huge learning curve there. One of the greats there, Renegade. He's no longer with Renegade, but he still helps us out. Shout out to Jesse. He was the Victron guru. So still, we really appreciate.
He taught me most everything. Yeah, and then I went from there and just kept learning.
Sensei Josh is Jedi.
So a big deal for us is to adjust every cargo door. I want to be able to. Did you see that? Did you see that? That's like a Rolls Royce or something. I mean, look at that.
It's almost like when you go in and out of a grocery store and the doors close themselves.
It's sorcery.
It's that smooth.
So they go through and adjust them just where everything shuts properly. It's a big deal. Oh, that one. We're still going through this. This coach will leave in a week or so. But anyway, we want every door to be just like that. Another thing we do, it's just a pickiness. I don't like stepping on those on this tread cover. It gets dirty, so we generally don't.
The first one's to scratch it. We let the customers be the first one to scratch it.
Yeah, so it's minor, but it's a big deal for us. Most of our coaches will have 110 outlets in every single compartment, but that guy right there, he can put a 110 compartment or 110 plug almost anywhere.
Gotcha.
So another thing we do that's a big deal to me, you look underneath a lot of back of these coaches, you look underneath and it's wide open. So you have this big void, this big gap here. So we go through, depending upon how much room we have there, we'll go through and seal that up. For people that have had diesel pushers in the past, you go to that back closet, you'll see, like a little black dust on everything around the edges. So we go through and make sure that everything is sealed up here. We don't have to worry about that. Any kind of air, trash getting up in this back cap. The other is noise. It's a big deal. So with that big void right there, we can have the conversation through the wall, basically bowling right up. It's just something that I think is a big deal. A coach of this caliber to be able to seal that up so you don't have to worry about the noise, you don't have to worry about trash and whatnot going through. Don't really do too much outside of here other than just still adjust any kind of storage compartment. Of course, we're super neat freaks, so everything is cleaned, double cleaned, re-cleaned.
We do put a load test on all the generators that come out here, so typically you will never get a coach from us with less than 5 hours on the generator. The reason we do that is we've had issues, so we don't want to have those anymore. We fire up the generator, let it run for at least an hour. Then we'll put a load on it, so whether if it's hot outside, we'll crank the ACs. We'll crank, if it's cold. Today we've got really cold weather, so we'll turn on the heated floors. We'll just put a load on it and make sure it stays rolling. Other than that, we do the macerator pump. So we learned by fire. We had the macerator pump that caused. So when they build the coaches, there's construction debris inside the tanks. We didn't realize when we were first installing the macerator pumps that we need to flush those out prior. So now we flush the tanks, raise them, dump them quite a few times to get all the debris from going in of our macerator. We learned that the hard way, had to eat a macerator pump or two. So that's something we do.
Yeah, definitely on a brand new coach, those tanks need to be filled and dumped probably at least 2 or 3 times to get all the trash out. You just, inevitably, you take any RV, you dump them, and sometimes there's pieces, parts that you wonder even how got in there. But for the most part, they're little cutouts from the tanks when they port into the tanks themselves. So it is a big deal. It also gives us an opportunity to be able to check the sensors, make sure anything is not leaking as well. I generally like to use hot water on gray, and then so that way if I'm feeling anything and the water is hot, I know if I have a gray water leak versus cold. Well, cold will be a black water. So that's another thing that I do whenever I go through and check them all out.
Also, the macerator toilet sensors also. We'll make sure to check those, make sure they're accurate.
Yeah.
Depending where they put them on the tank, we've found a bunch of times, too high or too low, and so then it shows 50% when it's really 30, or it shows full when it's 70%. So it's one thing on black tanks, raise it all the way to make sure the sensor's in the right spots.
For anybody that's been on the forums, there's been a lot of talk about the sensors, things not getting properly calibrated from the factory. That is a deal, and then we generally will do a bypass switch on them. The powers that be aren't too excited about that. We just want people to be able to flush the toilet. That's kind of the number one concern. So as time progresses, we obviously learn a little bit more. These guys, obviously hands-on, be able to touch this stuff and kind of know what they're doing from day to day.
Inside, we won't show you, but outside, we'll pull the coach out. We always hyperextend the hydraulic jacks. It looks crazy to have the whole coach up off the ground on the jacks, but we just want to know, you're going to get to a campsite and your front wheels are going to come off. So we put a load on it, check the hydraulics. We run, of course, we over-test the plumbing, over-test the electrical. Josh and I kind of one of the last things we like to do is a road test. So we'll take it, at least 10, 15 miles down the road. One of us is driving, one of us is walking through. We're listening for rattles, we're listening for creaks, we're looking for stuff that's moving when it shouldn't be moving, stuff like that. So it's just that's kind of our final rundown. Generally, we don't find a whole lot. We see entry doors need to be adjusted quite a bit. We've learned that the trays in the microwave, they rattle, so we take those out so we're not listening to that. Other than that, Renegade puts a really robust coach together, so we don't have a whole lot to complain about on road tests. We like to know.
Oh, the piece on the screen door, like the silicone around that metal piece, so it's not rattling.
Yeah, there's a little piece that no matter what you do to the screen door, it just sits and rattles inside the screen door. So we tape off and we put a bead of silicone around it, and it just absorbs that vibration. It's black, so you never know it's there unless we told you about it. But yeah, we do all that. Sometimes these coach coming in and they've got maybe the microwave vent or the dryer vent is been painted and stuck shut just because the clear was a little tacky. It's not anybody's fault. It's just something that happens, but we check that. Otherwise, your dryer and your microwave won't vent out very well. The black tanks and gray tanks are flushed really well. We, of course, everything leaves full of DEF, full of diesel, full of water. We fill everything with RO water here. So when you leave this area, your tanks are filled with RO water, so nothing's going to spot up. So nothing's going to stink. You can set that, if you go home and it has to sit in the barn for 2 months, you don't have to worry about it turning sour. And we wash everything with RO, so we just try to keep it as clean as possible. Darren's built us a really nice facility here to be able to do really nice work. Not many shops you can probably put ketchup on and eat off the ground. Not to say we've done that, but you could if you wanted to.
It was an accident.
Yeah, it was an accident. Yeah, generally, the Aqua Hot, we test that. We put a load on everything. Obviously, we need to add a little fluid. With a non-closed system, they do evaporate a little bit of fluid off, but it's just all part of the PDI. We run it. We run the heated floors. We run the hydronic heating. Make sure the heat pumps work. Make sure the condensate pumps do not leak. That's another big thing that we've had issues with. Yeah. We water test the roof. Of course, Renegade does that as well, but we do it double. We test the condensate pumps. We dump water in the ACs. Make sure it's going to expel through the PEX on the ground and not onto your bed. So we check that. What are some other things we do, Josh? I know there's a whole handful.
Awnings we do. Pull awnings out. Make sure they're dead on. Not too far out and even up and down.
The chassis are pretty bulletproof when we get them here. Used to we would add a shut-off valve for the engine preheat, but Renegade has since started adding that from the factory, so that's a nice feature that they have. Really, the chassis is bulletproof. We check oil, we check the fluids. Part of the road test is checking the chassis, so we're checking alignment, we're checking to make sure there's no check engine lights, adaptive cruise works like it should. If it's going to break, we want it to break on us, not on the customer when it leaves. So we probably spend a lot more time than any other dealer just making sure we don't get any phone calls, mad customers, because nobody wants that. So
make sure steering wheels are straight.
Steering wheel's straight. The alignment's a pretty big deal to us. We're pretty picky, and it shows in the products we send out because we've had a couple people upset that we maybe not hit a deadline, but they can't be upset that something was wrong. So we'll take that lick over the mad phone calls, and I think it works out well. We've got a lot of happy customers. People are impressed, I feel, when they get here, and we try to keep everybody rolling and coming back.
Look at how straight that awning is.
Perfect.
Perfectly straight. Want it to match up, not look like you installed one on Monday and one on Tuesday.
Yeah.
We're going to jump in real quick and we'll let Josh talk a little bit. We'll let Josh talk a little bit more about
come on into Josh's office in here.
Yeah. This is my last spot during delivery or once the customer gets here, help them set up the they come with the spruce.
Here, you can swap my spots right here.
I'll kind of show you. So we'll go through. I'll help them get connected to the spruce, the Wi-Fi booster. Kind of walk them through the setup.
This is Starlink setup he's talking about as well.
Yeah, this Starlink also goes to the spruce. So it's Spruce is just the name of the router.
Starlink's your internet provider.
Starlink's your internet provider, and there is option of a card still, and can install those also. And then there's just a lot of things. Before kind of messing with it, I didn't know that even was an option. So these are on here you can actually connect and pull internet from nearby Wi-Fi, and it'll strengthen, boost the signal. So like you can see here, I'm connected to our internet here through this router, and then it boosts my signal, full. And then so kind of try to give the customer a rough walkthrough, kind of thorough walkthrough of the router, and then this kind of show you when I say I connected to the inverters outside. This is what I mean, the VRM. You can see some of the rigs.
Yeah, so these are all previous coaches that Josh has logged into. There's a lot when you scroll down. Every one of them comes through, whether we think there's a problem or not. Josh logs into it and checks all that. More times than not, there's at least one or two things that need to be changed. But Josh, we're thankful for Josh to know this stuff, because we'd be in trouble if we didn't.
So you can see here, this is real time, and then when this is going to be beneficial is, if people are having issues with, power, inverters, anything like that, I can log in and actually get into the inverters and see, try to track down the problem without them having to come all the way here, if possible. And then it's worked out several times and saved the customer from a drive down here.
And if somebody steals their motorhome, he can go through there and shut all the power off.
Yeah, we can
or
log in. They'll never have cold food in the refrigerator again.
Yeah. So some of the cool things, just a lot of things you can see on here. And then if the customer wants to know, I can walk them through and kind of give them an invite also, and they can have access to this also to be able to monitor it remotely, if they have it in storage. And then as long as it has internet, they can go through it and see everything I'm seeing here. So
Josh has taken that on and really learned it. We're thankful for that, because this is a big portion of it. With the Victron system, it's really nice system, but it's a little complicated if you don't know what you're talking about. So we like to have Josh around. He's teaching me slowly. We're trying to gain it all, but yeah, that's a big part of the PDI, because there's been issues. We come in and maybe the generator power doesn't want to run something certain, or just something goofy, and it's a programming issue. So sometimes you'll spin your wheels trying to find a problem that's not there, and it's just simply a setting. So it's good to have that. Good to have that feature. Victron does work really well. We're happy that everything got to Victron. So
yeah, definitely happy with the system.
That's what Josh does on the Victron interior PDI. We go through, we check all the drawers, we check all the plumbing, we physically open it up, we put our hands on every fitting, whether it's leaking or not. We just want to make sure, because it may not leak today, but 200 miles down the road, it could start. We go through that, we check all our doors. The sliding shower door, sometimes the silicone doesn't just get all in every corner. So we do just go in the bottom track, we adjust that. The XL has a different shower knob than the Classics, but in the other, like the Verona, Explorer, Classic, they've got a different shower knob. It's an anti-scald valve. So with the customer's permission and up to them, we can gain all of the heat out of there. It's just a simple adjustment. We check all our pocket doors, check all our windows, shades work. If it's supposed to work, we test it here. Kind of get very involved in the PDI. I think
Here's something recently I've been doing with the XL, as far as the, it has the remote for the screens, blinds to go up and down. I've been trying to go in there and rename them. So if you do want to go scroll through it, and then you can be,
It's not just 1, 2, 3.
It's not just 1, 2, 3. I'll actually go in there and rename them.
Or couch or kitchen.
Try and give you just a little easier to go through and know which one, not just guess, or have to do all or none. Yeah.
Didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah. I just didn't last.
My shade, her shade.
Yeah.
Mine, her.
you need to buy a motorhome from Performance Motorcoaches. They're already labeled. Touch pads, the XLs are pretty loaded up coaches. There's a lot to be touched and looked over and just confirm it's all good. Renegade does a really good job of sending us a great product to start with. We just kind of put our little fine-tuned twist on it, and that's just for our own peace of mind, because we're a little kind of OCD maniacs around here. So but we keep it going. We got a good team. I feel like we got a good family of customers that trust us and like coming back for service. Got people come all the way from Canada from service, and they come once a year. It's kind of crazy to think we got people from Colorado, Florida, of course, all over Texas. We're really proud to say that we got people that travel for our service, because they're passing a lot of RV dealers on the way. So it's really good to know that people trust us with that. Josh and myself and Darren have really worked hard. We got Aaron and Matt in the service center. We got Joe and Freddie up front. All kind of a big mesh team to make it all work. Sometimes we're we're at each other's throats, but the customers are taken care of first and foremost. So.
Right.
Yeah. No matter how mad we get at each
Yeah.
other, customers never know.
Yeah.
They're like, this is the best guys ever.
Yeah, we can put a smile on and get everybody going. We had a coach leave this morning. They are headed, so they were from Washington.
Yeah.
Can't remember where they're headed, but we get people from traveling a good ways to come see us. So we gotta really keep up with that reputation and not let it be fumbled. So, but that's part of the PDI.
And you got to meet Josh.
Yeah.
Josh is mainly the guy. So Josh is our foreman. Runs the shop. Me and him kind of run the service side of things and make it happen. But Josh is, if there's a coach that's left here, guarantee Josh and I have had our hands on it, and more than likely a few more people. Before it gets here, Darren's toured it probably 10 times before it ever leaves Renegade. So a lot of problems are diverted because it doesn't leave the factory with an issue. So that's helpful. It's helpful to have someone that's been in your coach 10 times before it ever leaves the factory. You can keep an eye on things. I'm trying to think what else we do. There's a list. I know there's a list. We're just not thinking of it all. There's a lot.
That gives us a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to share the experience and, of course, bring Josh in. We're getting him warmed up because he was a huge part of the Veracruz. We'll get a video of that in the next day or so as we get him all buttoned up. But want to kind of get his feet wet because he's going to be right in the middle of the Veracruz video.
So I guess we can tell them about the pickup process. So generally, coming from us, we've had a lot of conversation. You get here, you spend the day with us. We show you orientation. We show you everything about it. At least spend one night. We've had, I think the record's 7 or 8 days maybe. Of course, they just loved us and they didn't want to leave. But we spend as much time. We get comfortable with them. We show them everything about it. Next morning, we come in if they have any questions or concerns or adjustments. We take care of that. Very, 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 very few times do we get a customer that shows up and leaves the same day. We like you to stay the night just to try to break this thing, see what you don't like, see what can be better, and we take care of you. Then whenever you feel comfortable, we hit the road. But I feel like that's a big part of the experience here is because we don't want anybody leaving here not comfortable and knowing what they're leaving with. We want everybody to know what this button does, what this valve does. That way there's no confusion. So,
Really, at the end of the day, we really don't want to sell a person to coach that's not going to dedicate the time to come spend with the coach. There's a lot of information. We want the customer to be comfortable. And to me, it's definitely a part. Our job is to deliver the coach as promptly as possible, the very best product they can possibly get, but also at the same time, it's part of the customer's expectation. Our expectation of the customer is get here, spend the time with us, let us help you, let us show you those things. Don't show up here on a Friday afternoon and leave on Saturday morning. Get here earlier in the week. That way, if you need any additional time, you're here. If something breaks and we don't have a part for whatever reason, we can overnight that. The problem with Fridays is you get into the weekend, it causes lots of issues. So to me, it's a part of the process. These are, you hear the term, these are rolling houses, and there's a lot of stuff to them. There's so many things that could potentially break on these things. So it's vastly important to get in here early. Start messing with those units. Get comfortable with them because we see things that just break. Sometimes we've tested it 10 times. The 11th time it breaks. So kind of keep that in mind. We definitely want people to come here and stay with their coach at least a day or two.
that's for sure. It's helpful. The more time you spend with us, the more you can soak it up. We know it's a lot to soak up in one day, especially on an Excel. There's a lot to be talked about. And so it's a courtesy to us and the customer to not overload you. If if it gets to 3 o'clock and you want to take a break, go get some groceries or something, it's best for everybody because we can soak it up. Everybody has our cell phone numbers generally by the time you leave here, but we'd prefer to teach you while you're here instead of over FaceTime. So, but I think let's see, what else we got?
Leveling valve on the leveling coach.
Yeah, that's another thing Josh checks. Sometimes coach will come in and they'll have a lean, right, left or right. No rhyme or reason, but it's just something we adjust. We get underneath there. Josh loosens them from the frame rails. Generally, he's underneath there. We got the jacks down for safety because we love Josh. But we'll have the tape, somebody on the outside's running the tape measure as he's adjusting that. Just one of the things that needs to be done. Most time they show up and they're pretty close, but every once in a while, Mike, our driver, he really hits a speed bump or something, maybe knocks him off. So, but But, there's a lot of things, a lot of stuff on that list is not stuff that anybody's ever asked us to do. It's just stuff that we think and feel needs to be done to help the customer in the long run. So that's what we do.
Well, thanks for joining me on this video, guys. It's been a lot of fun. We're definitely going to make Josh feel as uncomfortable as possible, showcase and display him as much as possible because he is a very integral part of the group. Brett's definitely jumped right in. He's going to get a spot on the 5 o'clock news. Maybe next week. He's just kind of become a natural as well. So always appreciate you guys watching these videos. Make sure you guys like, tag, and subscribe.